Raider Nation, what's good? Hope you're all buckled in, because today's update isn't exactly sunshine and rainbows for one key player in the silver and black. I'm talking about a guy who's been holding it down for 3 straight seasons, a guy who's been through multiple coaches, several systems, and more shakeups than most young players could handle. That's right, I'm talking about Dylan Parm. And folks, I've got a feeling that his time in Las Vegas might be coming to an end sooner than expected. Now, before we jump into the deep end here, I want to take you back for a second. Remember being a kid and watching Pokemon? That suspense when they'd silhouette a character and ask, "Who's that Pokemon?" Well, today, we're playing a little twist on that. Who's that Raider? And if you guessed Dylan Parham, then bingo, you nailed it. The difference is, instead of catching them all, it looks like the Raiders might be getting ready to let this one go. So here's the deal. Dylan Parham is entering the final year of his rookie deal after starting for 3 seasons on this offensive line. And while most players in his situation would be locked in, focused on putting up one final solid year to earn that big next contract, either with the Raiders or in free agency, Parham might not even be the starter when Week 1 rolls around. That's the news that's been circulating lately, and yeah, it's pretty tough to swallow. According to a recent report, Alex Kappa, who just signed a short-term deal with Las Vegas this offseason, is already being seen as the early favorite to take over at right guard. And here's where things get interesting, because that's the exact spot Dylan held down last season. Sure, in his first 2 years, he bounced around a bit more, primarily lining up at left guard, filling in here and there, but last season, that was his role. Right guard was his. So now you've got a guy who's given his all for this team, played multiple positions on the line, been available, been durable, and he's suddenly at risk of being benched in a contract year? Man, if I'm Parm, or if I'm repping Parm as part of his team, I'm seriously looking around and asking, is there another squad that might actually give me the chance to shine? Think about it. You started for 3 years. You've shown you can play. And then a new coaching regime walks in and doesn't seem to view you as a key part of the future. That's a red flag. Not because they're necessarily wrong, but because when regimes change, priorities shift, schemes change, player evaluations start from scratch. It's a tale as old as time in the NFL, and unfortunately, Parham might just be caught in the middle of another roster overhaul. Let's not forget that this dude was drafted by a completely different front office. Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler picked him in the 4th round out of Memphis. And at the time, I remember thinking it was a sneaky good pick. He wasn't flashy, but he had the traits you want in a future center or reliable guard: versatility, intelligence, awareness. He was a glue guy with upside, and that's the kind of player every team needs. But since he arrived in Vegas, the ground has shifted beneath his feet again and again. We're talking about 3 different head coaches since he got there. First McDaniels, then Antonio Pierce on the interim tag, and now Pete Carroll stepping into the building. That's not even getting into the revolving door of offensive line coaches. James Campen, Carmen Brasillo, Joe Philbin for a bit, and now Brendan Carroll. That's 4 different systems, for different coaching philosophies, for different playbooks. How does any young player find stability in that? And yet, through all of that noise, Parham's still been solid. Maybe not elite. No one's saying he's an all-pro. But he's shown up, taken the snaps, played through injuries, done what's been asked. That's why this sudden shift in tone around his future is raising eyebrows. The Raiders didn't just bring in Kappa for depth. They gave him a prove-it deal worth around $5 million, a sign that they expect him to play a real role. And based on early reports, that role might be Parham's. Now, I'm going to say something that might be controversial here. I actually think Dylan Parham is the better offensive lineman between the two. I really do. But here's the thing. It's not always about talent. It's about relationships. And Kappa's already got ties to the guys in this front office. He's familiar with the new staff. And when you combine that with the fact that the Raiders signed him so early in the offseason, you can't ignore the writing on the wall. But here's where it really gets tricky. If Dylan Parham isn't going to start, the Raiders have to seriously consider trading him. Not because he isn't useful, not because he's underperforming, but because if he's not in your plans, and you can get value before his deal expires, you almost have to explore it, especially considering the kind of versatility he brings to the table. We're talking about a player who's logged nearly 3,000 career snaps across multiple spots on the line. Left guard? Check. Right guard? Absolutely. Center? Not a ton, but enough to know he can handle in a pinch. That kind of Swiss Army knife utility isn't easy to find, especially in today's league, where injuries strike fast and often. There are teams out there right now who'd love to have a guy like that on the roster heading into training camp. And the Raiders aren't blind to this. They've been active all offseason, adding depth to the trenches. They drafted Caleb Rogers, a guy who's played left tackle, left guard, right tackle, right guard. Then they added Charles Grant, another developmental lineman with upside. Both came on day 2 of the draft, which tells you this organization is investing real capital into shoring up that line. And we all know how this front office feels about building in the trenches. Just look at their draft history and priorities. It's not just about protecting the quarterback. It's about establishing a physical identity. And if the Raiders feel like Parm doesn't quite fit into what Pete Carroll and his staff are envisioning for this line, if they'd rather mold a younger guy like Rogers into a starter or roll with the familiarity of Kappa, then Parm becomes expendable. Harsh, maybe, but that's the business. And speaking of business, let's talk money. Because trades don't happen in a vacuum. They happen when the finances line up. And for a team looking to acquire a plug-and-play offensive guard on a budget, Parm makes a ton of sense. He's in the final year of his rookie deal, set to make just over $3.5 million. That's chump change in today's cap climate, especially for a player who's logged as many snaps as he has. If the Raiders move on, they only eat a small dead cap hit, less than $250,000. It's a no-brainer if the right offer comes in. That said, timing is everything. Could a trade happen before training camp? Absolutely. Especially if a team loses a key lineman to injury or realizes their interior depth isn't up to snuff. But honestly, I think the most realistic window might be closer to the regular season or even the trade deadline. Keep him around for camp. See how the competition shakes out. If he's not starting, flip him for a mid-round pick. It's smart business, and it gives the Raiders flexibility while maintaining insurance in case one of the other guys falters. And let's be real, there will be suitors. Dylan Parm might not be a household name, but in NFL circles, a guy who started 3 straight seasons, dealt with multiple head coaches and offensive coordinators, played almost 3,000 snaps, and stayed healthy the whole time, that's valuable. Offensive line depth is always at a premium, especially in the middle of the season when injuries start piling up. Teams like the Patriots, the Titans, the Ravens, maybe even the Seahawks, they're always looking for help up front, and Parm fits that mold. Look, this situation is far from over. There's still a ton of football to be played this offseason. OTAs, mini camps, training camp, preseason. Anything can happen. Injuries, surprise breakout performances, roster reshuffling. It's the NFL, and nothing's ever set in stone. But right now, based on what we're hearing and what we're seeing, it feels like Dylan Parm's role with the Raiders is on shaky ground. And if the team gets a decent offer, don't be surprised if they pull the trigger. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about one player. It's about building a team, a culture, a long-term vision. And sometimes that means making tough calls on good players. Dylan Parm's a good player. But is he the right fit for this new Raiders era? That's the million-dollar question. Or, in this case, the $3.7 million question. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a stunning twist that has sent shockwaves through the NFL, rumors are swirling that the Las Vegas Raiders have pulled off a sensational move by acquiring none other than San Francisco 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy. Though unconfirmed by either franchise, the buzz is deafening, and the league may never be the same again. Purdy, who rose from Mr. Irrelevant to franchise savior in just 2 seasons, led the 49ers to a Super Bowl appearance and quickly became one of the most reliable and poised young quarterbacks in the league. Known for his intelligence, accuracy, and calm under pressure, Purdy has been a key part of Kyle Shanahan's offensive machine, making his potential exit all the more shocking. Insiders suggest that the Raiders, desperate for a franchise quarterback after years of instability under center, made an aggressive offer that the 49ers couldn't refuse. Whether it involved high draft picks, key defensive players, or a combination of both remains unknown. But the move underscores just how far the Raiders are willing to go to reestablish themselves as a powerhouse in the AFC. The reaction across the NFL has been immediate and intense. Fans, analysts, and players alike have taken to social media, expressing disbelief and intrigue. Raiders fans are ecstatic, seeing in Purdy the leader they've longed for since the days of Rich Gannon. Meanwhile, 49ers loyalists are stunned, struggling to understand why the team would part ways with the quarterback who seemed to be their long-term answer. If the rumors prove true, the move could dramatically alter the balance of power in both conferences. With Purdy at the helm, the Raiders instantly become playoff contenders, potentially challenging the likes of Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC West. Meanwhile, questions loom large in San Francisco. Who will lead their offense now? Is Trey Lance ready to return? Or does the team have another surprise up its sleeve? Though the dust has yet to settle, one thing is clear. If Brock Purdy is indeed heading to Las Vegas, the NFL is about to enter a new, unpredictable chapter, one where the Raiders might finally rise from the ashes and reclaim their glory. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.